नमो तस्सा भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा संबुद्धस्सा नमो तस्सा भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा संबुद्धस्सा नमो तस्सा भगवतो अरहतो सम्मा संबुद्धस्सा इतिपिसो भगवारहं सम्मा संबुद्धो विद्याचरण संपन्नो सुगतो लोकविदु अनुत्तरो पुरिसधम्म सारथि सत्तादेव मनुष्याणां बुद्धो भगवाति नमो तस्स सम्मा संबुद्धस्सा स्वाखातो भगवता धम्मो संदिटिको अकालिको एहिपस्सिको अपनायको पच्छत्तं वेदितव्यो विन्नुहीति नमो तस्स नियानिकस्स धम्मस्सा सुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संगो उजुपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संगो न्यायपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संगो सामीचिपटिपन्नो भगवतो सावक संगो यदिदं चत्तारि पुरिस युगानि अट्टपुरिस पुग्गल एसा भगवतो सावक संगो आहुनेयो पाहुनेयो दक्किनेयो अंजलिकरणीयो अनुत्तरं पुण्यखेदं लोकस्साति नमो तस्स अट्ट अर्य पुग्गला महासंगसा साधु. So you might have heard of one kind of game. Generally, people play with their kids. It's called Who Am I Quiz or What Am I Quiz. Huh? Like say, I'm so and so. I have 3 eyes. I have say 4 legs but no tail. Something like that. Some kind of imagination, some kind of logic they should create in them. They should work out in their mind, and they should find out what is the right answer. Say for example, say for this coconut, I have 3 eyes, I have water inside, something like that. I have long hair. So who am I? Something like that. If they ask, then the children, then the kids, they have to think. Yes, so it must maybe coconut, something like that. And for the different age groups, they have designed different kinds of this who am I quizzes, or what am I. So in that way, just to create some kind of imagination, some kind of thinking, some kind of say comprehension, all these things, the children will develop. When you keep on asking this, who am I kind of questions, that kind of quiz. And then if you just stretch it, if you continue this, and instead of asking them, who am I, find out with this kind of some 3-4 points and relate this with some object or some person. For example, very small kids. I have a very small tail, but in the front, I have very long nose. I have 4 legs. I have very big belly. I'm huge. Who am I? Then the children, small kids, they'll think, oh, it should be elephant. And if you just increase that thinking capacity, if you want to increase for some adolescents and all, then you can ask little more complicated things. So there you are relating, you're connecting this who am I to something outside, to make the child to think about something that they have seen outside. But slightly if you change this game, and if you ask them instead of these who am I questions, if you ask them who are you, then they go inwards. They will start thinking, who am I? In that way, they will start thinking about them about themselves only. Instead of looking things outside and try to relate these questions, there already some hints are given to outside objects. When you directly ask them, this is also important. You should try to say, ask this question to your children. So then they will go inwards and they will start thinking about who are they, who am I? Because this is like it's not only for some philosophers or some say religious reformers or seekers. Like they say this Ramana Maharshi, his whole life is on investigating this who am I. He has spent more than 12 to 14 years on investigating who am I. So this understanding is also equally important. Why? Because you see, if you wrongly interpret this I as this body, or I as this my feelings, or I as my intelligence, I as my smartness, I as my beauty, I as my wealth, I as my education, I as my say health. So in these different ways, one can interpret this I as my power, I as my position, I as my job. So in so many ways, people interpret this I, and they get stuck there, and they give some akara, some shape to whatever they think as I, and that shape that they have given to that, it becomes what is called to that I, whatever shape they give, it becomes what is called aham akara, ahankara. Aham means I. Akara, if you give some shape, like I am this body, I am this young body, a beautiful body. If that kind of akara, shape, or understanding, if you give to your I, then you are stuck there. Or I means I am the boss of this company, I am the boss of for these 50 employees here, or these 4 employees here. In that way, if you give an akara, some shape, then you are stuck there. So that is not real, it will keep changing. After some time, you have to come back to your house, and there you have a different I there, as a father, as a mother, as a child, as a brother. You have to have different I there, different shapes that you have to take when you come back to your house from your office. So in that way, this I is very tricky. What kind of shape I should give? What kind of akara? What kind of understanding I should have towards this I? This is very tricky. Because of that reason, many say seekers, investigators of truth, they always work on this. Who am I? And if you start this from to your kids from very early age, then they will not get stuck into this kind of very temporary shapes that people take, and they will suffer because that is temporary after all. Sometimes it will change. Now, today you may be the boss, and tomorrow you may lose your job and you may become nobody. So, if that kind of situation is this impermanent or changing or fleeting situation is there in this world, and people who are really look into this ever-changing nature of this shape of I, the structure of I, the understanding of I, if this, one has to keep on changing this. What is the true nature of this I? So if that is there, at least at the back of your mind, even one can start from the age of very small age also. It should be a part of, again, our education system. Instead of teaching so many external things, 1 million things, they should teach about something about themselves also, their true nature, or this at least that investigating curiosity about themselves, that also should be incorporated. That one should do as if not uh, as a party in the education system, if not as one of the lectures. These are not at all there in the education. As a parent, you can do that. So then this kind of inquisitiveness about the external things, that is good, okay. But again, that inquisitiveness towards oneself, if that is also there, then they will strike a wonderful balance, and they'll They will maintain that calmness and equanimity and mental strength, confidence levels, understanding levels, uh, not getting carried away by the external influences. So that kind of ability they will get, the children will get. So in India, this kind of investigation is very much there from time immemorial. Hmm? From time immemorial. Buddha also, he started investigating. Everybody is changing. Everything is changing. The people are dying. The people are becoming old. I too become old. I'm not a king always like this. I can't be. So when you start this investigation, then so as in the case of all these wise people like Buddha, uh, Ramana Maharshi and all. So then they start knowing about the true nature of this body and this true nature of this mind, and they will not get trapped into this fleeting nature of the bodily pleasures or the mind pleasures, and they will start deriving or getting the ultimate pleasures or the true pleasures or the superior happiness. So in that way, so this investigation with this question, who am I, has definitely helped many people. to derive the true happiness, to find out the truth, and thereby design their life in a very balanced way, balancing the external things, external pleasures with the true internal happiness or the pleasures. So, in that way, this kind of investigation, this kind of questioning, simply questioning about the world, questioning about the people, questioning about the plants or the say, anything about the nature, about astronomy, about atomic physics, about chemicals, all these things, it's okay. But in addition to that, there should be this curiosity of about one's own nature. So to create that kind of curiosity and that integrated knowledge towards one's own uh, say overall wisdom towards oneself and towards the world, this kind of questioning is a must. So because of this kind of questioning, many people, even the religious people, they could realize, they could go ahead of this, they could go beyond this, the ephemeral nature of the world, the impermanent nature of the world, the fleeting nature of the world, and they could infer, they could conclude something that is superior to this worldly happiness. Like say in some religions, they could infer that there is something superior called the divine realms, and there they have higher peace, higher happiness, higher powers, uh, higher or longer lifespan, superior health, superior wealth. So one should aspire for that, like Jesus and all they said, work for the heavens, work for the superior life. This is all like this is ephemeral, this is fleeting. This life is very temporary. Work for the superior life, next life. So in that way, they encourage people. Though you are in some difficulties now, don't worry. Practice some good morality, some generosity, generous mind, good mind you practice, and some devotion to some superior beings you practice. Then you will get a superior life. In that way, they started promoting, working on the superior I, which let us say the divine I. And the many, like in India, many seekers, they started highlighting about the importance of something that is superior to the divine realms, also like the life of Brahmas. They have much more superior, peaceful life. They have much more longer life, longer superior health, superior powers. They can create and they can live for billions and billions of years, and they create one world system, one universe of their own. So that's why one should become one with that kind of creator God, like Brahmas. And of course, so many other religions also, they talk about that kind of creator God. And you should become one with that, or you should evolve yourself to that kind of superior powers of the mind, superior consciousness of the mind. In that way, they started promoting. So Buddha then he was working on all these things. He started purifying his mind. Then he realized the divine realms and the limitations of divine realms also. And then he realized the Brahmic realms and the limitations of the Brahmic realms also. And then he completely transcended from all these ideas of becoming one with something superior to the human realms or the human abilities, human powers. And that is possible again to work on one's own mind and to purify the mind thoroughly, completely, without any substrata, without any say residue. If the mind is thoroughly purified, then there is no meaning for this very I itself. There is nothing like Brahmic I or divine I. All these eyes will simply melt away, it will simply perish. That's why his version is, instead of working, and that is the best, and that's where one should work on, one should keep his intellect, and based on that one should do everything in the human world, in this life also. Just like when Jesus says, just completely surrender to like the God, the divine being, and simply with the devotion in the mind, the back of your mind, keep on doing all the worldly things, uh, or the other religions like Supreme Creator God, like Allah or Brahma. Keep in the back of your mind. Keep on doing everything that will in this present world also. So that will make your mind pure, and it will take you to that kind of realms. That's what they insist. But Buddha says this kind of things, the path will not be very perfect. And the goal also, there is a lot of difficulty, lot of risk in reaching that goal also. And he says in one of the discourses, I have seen with my supernormal powers that nobody with this kind of wrong views of this ultimate I is the divine I, the ultimate I is this Brahma I, or Creator God's I, the Supreme Soul. If this kind of views, if the people have, so I have seen in so many millions and billions of lives, only one person could reach the superior realms, the divine realms, with this kind of wrong views, because he has this lot of clarity in this good begets good, bad begets bad, cause and effect. If I do good, I'll get the good. If I do bad, I'll get the bad. So this was very much there uh, in his mind. So because of that, he could reach the divine realm. So you should know the complete canvas, the complete spectrum of this ultimate liberation of this trap of this very idea of I. Because of that reason, start investigating about yourself with this question. What is that question? Instead of looking for who am I, then all these kind of shallow truths or imperfect truths, you may get stuck in those imperfect truths. I am the divine, I should end up in this divinity. I am Brahma, I should end up in this Brahma or Allah. This kind of shallow truths you will end up. So instead of that, if you have this, if you change this question, so what is this thought I that comes sometimes arises, sometimes it will not arise. So all the time, the I is not completely has invaded you or has embedded you, has completely suffused in you. No. When you are in deep sleep, when you are in good meditation, this automatically this will vanish. That very thought of I will vanish. Forget about deep sleep and meditation. Even when you are doing any work, or when you are in a very close association with someone, when you are very completely involved in some work, this thought of I will disappear, completely disappear. Hours and hours also it may disappear. So in that way, this thought of I is very temporary. Like any other thought, this thought of I is also temporary. There is no need to give any kind of permanence idea, any kind of unchanging idea, notion, unchanging notion to this I, thinking that there is something which is beyond this body, beyond this mind, which we can call it a soul, and that is me, that is I. In that way, many imperfect observations are imperfect observers. They ended up there. But actually, all those things will have two problems. One is even that inferior goals also you won't reach, because so anything very very superior if you aim for, then always you will fall little below that only. But especially in this mind cultivation, the spiritual goals, you should know the complete spectrum. Otherwise, you may end up anywhere. Though you are working for Brahmic realms, you may end up in some animal realm. You end up in becoming a pig. So that risk, as I was telling you just now, that only one person could enter into the divine realms with that kind of wrong views. Because of course, was having this firm clarity in this good begets good, bad begets bad, this law of cause and effect, law of karma. Otherwise, with these wrong views, there is no guarantee that you will get even the inferior goals also, the inferior goals like divine realm and the Brahmic realm. And the second thing is, like, you can't completely work on your mind. You will be carried away in some devotion or in some kind of wrong actions. Your all actions will not be completely skillful actions, and you can't derive the absolute happiness here and now, and also hereafter. You can't derive the correct happiness. Because of that reason, the complete stretch you should know, and the ultimate you should know. Because of that reason, Buddha highlighted. Instead of asking this in this way, who am I? Then in that very question, there is some problem. The very question. So it has that notion that there is something permanent, that is I. So when that kind of something permanent I is there, then you try to make it like say it is not body, it is not mind, because body and mind are ever changing. There should be something that is soul, which is pure and which is permanent. So then this soul, what it should do to come out of these defilements of the body and mind, it should always work for some supreme soul. It should try to say aspire for becoming one with the supreme soul. That kind of wrong aspirations also may develop, and you forget about working on your own mind, because it's our own mind which creates impurities, which creates purity. That knowledge you will lose. Because of that reason, again, Buddha has to emphasize on, to emphasize on this mind-centeredness, working on one's own mind. He has to emphasize on this questioning also, that the right questioning is, and of course it is absolutely true also. It will not create any confusion, it will not take you to any kind of wrong views. So it will help you to correctly investigate. So what is that question that Buddha talks about is, what is this thought that sometimes comes, sometimes goes, like this I-ness and minus. It's not always permanent. This very thought of I is not. So what is this thought that comes and goes? So I want to give the reference of two sutras here. One very, very small sutta, that is, of course, many of you might have heard about this Paticca Samuppada, or this dependent origination. And the other one is the Brahmajala Sutta, where 62 kinds of wrong views will trap you into these soul theories. And the soul theories, people will conclude with this kind of wrong question, who am I? If you have this question as the superior question or the ultimate question, or this wrongly perceived this I as something as permanent as soul, then you end up in soul theories. Then you will start considering this body as mine, this my feelings, my love as mine, as me, or my consciousness as me, or my intelligence as me, or my confidence, Atma Shakti as me. Even in these spiritual things, as forget about all this worldly nonsense I people are holding on to. There's whatever accumulated knowledge, they hold on to it and they think that they are I, that is their I, that's why they are superior, they're inferior. So all these menial things I'm not talking. Even at these superior things also, like people concluding this body as I, or this my love, my feelings, my emotions, my compassion, my loving kindness as I, or my consciousness. Many people in the present India, they are holding on to this consciousness, this universal consciousness. I means my consciousness. So my consciousness should become one with the universal consciousness. That is that they can call it as God. So all of us, we have our own connection with one another. That universal brotherhood is there, universal fatherhood is there, universal love is the path, because we are all having this consciousness. We should love each other, one another. And this universal love is the path. So many masters, they are talking something like this. But here the two problems is, one is like, it is like imperfect truth based on imperfect observation, which will end up in imperfection only, which will keep you in the confusion only. Point number one. Point number two, it will make you to ignore about working on your own mind and purifying your mind, completely erasing, removing. So all the residues of ignorance, the substrata, that is the cause of this kind of questioning for all other evils, so that can be removed only if you work on your own mind. In our classes also, we are highlighting, so when you are cultivating the pure feelings like metta, karuna, mudita, upekka, it's not just for the sake of others, not at all for the sake of others. It is to purify your own mind from greed, hatred, delusion, animosity, ill will, enmity, anger. To purify your own mind from these defilements, you have to practice these wholesome feelings, metta, karuna, mudita, upekka. It is not to fix the problems of the world or to safeguard the people, safeguard the world. No. Even Bodhisattva, in many of his lives, millions and millions of lives, he was working on his mind only. Though he was sacrificing his wealth, his people, his empire, his body, his life, everything, for the sake of others, his intent was to purify his own mind. But mind-centeredness is very, very, very unique to right view approach. If that, so it is not selfishness, it is absolute wisdom and compassion. The greatest wisdom and the greatest compassion is the mind-centeredness. So then say you will stick on to this mind-centeredness if this questioning is like, say, what is this thought? I instead of who am I? Who am I leads to this kind of soul-centered views. This you'll be stuck in these soul-centered views if you are asking, if you are keep on working on this who am I. So as in the beginning I was telling you, who am I? Of course you should encourage your kids, everyone to, and then slowly you should bring in this right view also, and again slowly change that who am I questioning into what is this thought I that comes, that arises sometimes and that disappears many times. So that way, if you just make this I as like any other thought, then hitting the ignorance, which is the cause of all other problems, like in this Paticca Samuppada, avidya pachaya sankara, sankara pachaya vinyana pachaya namarupa. Avidya means this, actually this ignorance. That ignorance has nothing but giving some wrong shape to your, say, to your body and mind. That is actually the avidya. That means you are giving some kind of permanence to this I, this body as I, this mind as I. The atheists and materialists, they are completely bothered about this body as I only. That is also wrong. And this case, they give some kind of one of the components of the mind, like the consciousness as I, or these beautiful feelings like love as I, or this confidence as I, or this intelligence as I. In that way, they conclude. Many theists also. But all this conclusion about this mind and body as I, that is avidya. So because of that mana, that conceit, that I-ness and minus, and the ignorance, they are together. They're actually in a way one and the same. They're almost same. So if you see the samyojanas that Buddha talks about, there are 10 samyojanas. The last 5 samyojanas, the last 3 are actually this I and not knowing the correct reality, the ignorance and I, they're always together. Both of them go together. Then only you will become arahant. That's what Buddha says when he was talking about the fetters, samyojanas. So in that way, this I-ness and minus, this identifying yourself as something, even a soul, is ignorance. And from that ignorance only, all your sankara, all your other defilements of the mind, like greed, hatred, delusion, laziness, jealousy, all these things will arise because of this ignorance only. And from that defilements only, the so-called consciousness will arise. Sankara Pachya Vijnana. There is nothing like permanent consciousness. That's what is the greatest thing that the many of the Indian modern day masters also they're stuck with. Because of that reason only I had to give up all those things. Because they're stuck in that permanence of the consciousness. In many religions, they're stuck with the permanence of love. In some religions, they're stuck with the permanence of confidence. Some religions, they're stuck with the permanence of intelligence. And many of the Indian modern philosophers or the teachers also, they're stuck with the permanence of consciousness. And that's why they have built a lot of wrong views based on the permanence of I as consciousness. And it should become one with the universal consciousness. In that way, their wrong views, it has created a lot of confusion, a lot of ignorance. So not consciousness is not permanent. Consciousness is actually, it is a product of your own defilements. Sankara Pachya Vijnana. Vijnana means consciousness. Sankara means defilement. So defilements only will create Vijnana, consciousness. And from that consciousness, Nama Rupa, body and mind will come. So one should not stuck with this consciousness. One should go behind. Even for the consciousness, our defilements are the reason. And for our defilements, our wrong understanding of this I-ness and minus, that is ignorance. That is the reason. That is avidya. So in that way, if you understand, then you don't say stuck with any of these wrong views, and you don't identify your consciousness, your body, your feelings, your confidence, your intelligence as I. And you start considering this I also, this thought of I as like any other thought. And you start working on your own mind. That mind-centeredness becomes very predominant, very firm. And such a person, there is no possibility for such a person to end up in any kind of other extreme views of theistic views or atheistic views, materialistic views, or soul-centered views. 62 views, nearly 50% of them are soul-centered views. Some of them are these only body-centered or these atheistic views, nihilistic views. The body is gone, then everything is gone. That's called a nihilistic view. So many of the atheists, they are holding on to that. Or even some agnostic views. I don't know. That is called eel wriggling, or it's like sitting on the fence, or like because of fear, because of no clarity, there are some agnostic views also. I don't know kind of views also. That is also like a wrong view. Sometimes, of course, Buddha used to keep quiet. That is because if I say something, it leads to more confusion. That is not agnosticism. That is like, say, again, the skillful way of dealing with others' minds. But many agnostics, they think that, so simply say, I don't know about these things, then I can escape. And that becomes one kind of view, and that is also becomes a wrong view. So in that way, to make your actions based on completely the mind-centered actions, working on your own mind, purifying your own mind, as many of you who are into this right view meditations, working on your own mind, on the 4 faculties of the mind, purifying them authoritatively. So to establish in this path, to firmly stick on to this path. So this kind of questioning, like instead of asking, who am I? Better you ask, not better. This is the only way. You have to ask, what is this thought I? Sometimes that arises. Sometimes it will not arise. In that way, if you keep working, then you will stick on to this mind-centered, the path, this mind-centered approach to realize the truth and realize the true happiness, true peace. And of course, I know very few people can understand this. Even those who are attending our classes, also among them also very, very few people can understand. And those who are not attending the classes, definitely. They completely, they are, definitely they will be in different kinds of wrong views. That is very much true, I agree. But still, somewhere, somehow, because these online classes and online these the talks, somewhere, somehow it may reach someone. maybe at the remote corner of the world. And if he has that kind of seed of true investigation, right investigation, just trigger their that right investigation, it may help them. So because of that intention only, I just thought of introducing this. But slowly, slowly, it is very, very easy when compared to so many other rocket science intelligence that the world is achieving. So understanding this right questioning or right investigation about this I is very, very easy, but you should have some kind of bent of mind. Then everybody, even the kids, can understand. Some of you are very serious in this path, just work on this enthusiastically and see that your the kids and your friends and your relatives, how they can come into this path. So in that way, so, so this in coming to this discussion of who am I and what is this thought I. So the point here is work on this. Second option, what is this thought I? And that objective approach. And in this objective approach, just don't stuck with this atheistic things like only this body is I, and after this body, everything gone, everything will end up in nothingness, or that nihilism, nihilistic views also. No, mind is there. Mind as a stream of consciousness, like the waves, one wave pushing the other wave. This one consciousness will push the other consciousness. And this first consciousness, because of first consciousness, only second consciousness. Because of first wave only, second wave is there. Second wave is not completely equal to the first wave. At the same time, it is not completely different from the first wave. Is it not? When you see the flow of waves, second wave is not as same as the first wave. At the same time, it's not completely different from the first wave. A part of first wave is also there in the second wave. A part something new is also there. In the same way, in this flow of consciousness, this stream of consciousness, the second consciousness is a little bit dependent on the first consciousness. At the same time, it is a little bit free from the first consciousness, and it has some other aspects also different from the first consciousness. In that way, this flow of consciousness keeps moving, keeps on going, even after the death. That's why one should again work on the mind. This clarity, if you get, then again, you will stick on to this path authoritatively, firmly, without any confusion, without any doubt, without any, say, half-heartedness. Okay. So this is the question that you should always keep in your mind. So what is this thought? Instead of getting carried away with these questions like who am I and all. That is point number one. Then this you should always keep in your mind this avidya, or this ignorance of I, ignorance of wrongly concluding about the I, is the cause of creating more and more defilements in the mind, like the greed, hatred, and delusion, and so many other defilements. And those defilements only will produce consciousness, and that consciousness only will produce body and mind. So if you come out of this grip of body and mind, this burden of body and mind, you should keep on softening your consciousness. The consciousness should become more and more clear, more and more sensitive and sharp and subtle. And then you will realize that the defilements will make the consciousness more and more gross. The consciousness becomes more and more subtle. The defilements also become more and more subtle. And then with that superior consciousness, you keep on working on your defilements, completely erase them. And again, without the wrong views, then all your defilements will be erased. All your I-ness and minus will be erased. And that completely avidya will be erased. And you will start realizing the ultimate happiness of Nibbana, or complete absolute freedom, here and now. And of course, hereafter also, after leaving this body also. And here and now, even having this body also. That's why this is the right investigation, not falling into the extremes of body-centeredness or soul-centeredness, working on the mind. That is what is one should be very clear. And to get that clarity, so one should have this right questioning instead of asking this who am I thing. One should always make it into more objective, more wholesome, more mind-centered. With this question, what is this thought, I, which comes which arises in the mind sometimes, and which will not arise in the mind? What is the nature of this I? That way, if you start investigating, that is the authoritative thing. So this is what I wanted to uh, make it clear in this talk. And of course, many people who just conclude the I as consciousness, as I as soul, there are some benefits, of course, there are some advantages. That submissiveness will come, humbleness will come. But this very humbleness, again, there are so many limitations also. Then your ability to work on the mind and correctly purifying the mind, correctly being confident, that will not be there. In that humbleness, a lot of hypocrisy may come. And rather than reducing your defilements, you may increase your defilements. And a lot of other people also, they may exploit you. That kind of risk is there. And if you become so much body centered, and if you conclude this body itself as my I or me, like this the atheistic views or materialistic views, then again the problem is you will again ignore the mind purification. Simply you start working on your sensual pleasures, and that will definitely multiply your defilements. More competition, more greed, more hatred, more jealousy, all these things will start. More pride and proudness about the body and the body centered pleasures that will start. And mainly working on the mind, that aspiration will go away. So that will destroy your happiness here and now and also hereafter. Even these agnostic views of I don't know whether the soul is there, not there, whether the body is me or whether the soul is me, that I don't know. That there is again one kind of absolute delusion that will again not help you to achieve even the sensual happiness also, or this so-called soul-centered happiness also. Because if you just completely surrender to some supreme soul, you will get some relief, some peace, some kind of mental tensions will go away, even though if it is temporary. That kind of pleasures also you won't get if you have this agnostic views of I don't know. That will keep you in more confusion. So this kind of mind-centered view, if you keep with this questioning, this right questioning of what is this thought that arises as I instead of who am I, then definitely you will get higher clarity, will establish yourself in the correct right view. The right view will establish. Okay. So in that way, you have to understand about this today's topic, that is who am I is correct, or what is this thought I is correct. So in that way you have to understand. And of course the modern philosophers, modern psychologists, they also talk about this I and this pride and this ego and different forms of this ego. And they talk about something called hubristic I and this authentic I. So there is something called arrogance. It is only me, only I, having this firm view, the body as me, this power as me, this position as me, the richness as me, and the intelligence as me. In that way, strongly, if you hold on to it, it will become the hubristic. That's what they say. And it's nothing but arrogance. And they, of course, definitely end up in a lot of suffering. And of course, in the world, you have to have this notion of I. As I was telling you, when you are in the office, you have the notion of that employee or employer or some notion, whatever role you are playing there, that is there. Otherwise, you can't function at all. And in your house, you have to have one role as I. You have to take that role as I. As father, as mother, as brother, as sister, or as son or daughter. So that role you should have. That is very much there. But all these things are impermanent. So no role is a permanent role. Role is role after all. So with that view, you can handle your roles in the life. That is what is the authentic I or the confidence I. The confidence I, stick on to your roles, understand your roles in that situation and act accordingly. So don't get carried away with this rigidness of this I-ness and minus. Then it becomes what is called this hubristic or this arrogant view about the I. Then you will invite all the dangers, all the problems, all the suffering. Okay. So again, I tell you, when you start exploring these four components of the mind, authoritatively in this right view approach that many of you are learning in this right view courses, meditation courses, then definitely you will. And of course, so today's conclusion is like always have this kind of say investigation. Of course, deep inside every one of us, we will have this kind of say curiosity to know about what is this I, but don't give any kind of permanence notion to this I, and consider this thought of I also as like any other thought which comes and goes. Hmm? Like the moving clouds, they come and go, the other thoughts. The same way this thought of I also come and go. So let me work on this, my own few feelings, my own consciousness, let me keep on purifying this in that way. Be this action oriented, skillful action oriented, beneficial action oriented on your mind only. And ignore all these non-beneficial or unskillful investigations, like whether the world is finite or infinite, whether who created this world. All this is unskillful, non-beneficial curiosities. Best curiosity is to how to purify this mind, which gets tensed, which gets suppressed, which gets suffering quite often. How to purify this? This is the beneficial and the more authoritative way of say both coming out of the suffering and also to come out of ignorance, to realize everything about the universe world is also possible when you have this right investigation. And for this right investigation, the right question is not this who am I, but it is what is this thought sometimes that arises in this mind, which is nothing but ignorance. Instead of holding on to that I, the more strongly you hold on to that I, even as soul, even as consciousness, even as love, the more suffering you will have. So this is like fleeting thought of I also comes and goes. Keep that as the background of the back of your mind. Then you will progress correctly in this meditations also, in all these right view meditations also. And then you can very confidently, not bringing in this arrogance, very confidently also, you can say play your roles in the life, and you can reap the success in your worldly job or worldly actions also. Okay, so in that way you should look at this concept of I. The more firmly you are holding on to this I, the more ignorance you are accumulating in your mind, which is the cause of all your other defilements of the mind, and which is the cause of your consciousness to arise, and which is the cause of your body and mind to arise. If you want to escape from this repeated arising of the body and mind, that is repeated births, but to work on your consciousness, purify your consciousness authoritatively, again with this question, what is this thought I? And then completely eradicate the ignorance, this I. You have this question in your mind rather than the question that is, who am I? Okay. So this question of who are you, keep on asking, and then they should finally go inwards. And then the next step is like even this very I, it's just like any other thought. So that kind of one final say reliever or final question of say completely escaping from this trap of this permanence of I thoughts. We should change that into what is this thought I. So then either for yourself or when you're asking with others, finding your kids, this approach if you keep, then you can definitely establish in this path of right view, and you can correctly practice this right view meditations. Okay, so that is about today's Dhamma talk. Of course, there are so many things we can relate and we can explain, but it's enough, I think. So in many of our Dhamma talks, Around this right view only our discussions will go on. So you can listen to all other Dhamma talks also. You can go through our channel and then attend our right view meditation courses. Then you'll get more and more clarity. From July, we have series of courses, level 1 to level 4 in different languages. In July, we have it in Hindi. In the month of August, will have it in the language is Telugu. Kannada language courses, which will be in the month of September, and English language courses will be in the month of October. All of you, I definitely encourage all of you to attend these courses, because I think this is the only thing that a sensitive person should do in this human life. And if you are stuck with so many other things, also it's okay. That is your like say your the effect that you have created with your causes. But still, this right view, if you keep at the back of your mind, sooner or later, it will help you in this life or in the subsequent lives also. It should help you. And this is, as I was telling you, this is the only thing that a human being should do. Having this human body and human life. This is the best way to develop the mind. Mana Ussati, Mana, developing the mind, is the duty of the human. So to fulfill this duty of a human being, so work on this right view meditations in this. Encourage your friends and relatives and your near and dear ones, loved ones, to take up these courses. And though initially it's like a very, because the world is stuck with a lot of wrong views. Maybe initially they will struggle to enter into this path, appreciate this path, and follow this path. But once start getting little by little the benefits of this, they will definitely establish in this, and they will be definitely grateful to you also. And that is again one great punya for you, but that will become encouragement for you also. More and more people are benefited and they appreciate your say efforts in motivating them. That will become a motivation for you also. That way, don't give up this path. That is my authoritative recommendation for you, for all of you. Okay. So now, again in this Brahmajala Sutta, of course, so many wrong views and how Buddha can very skillfully could fix the wrong views of other people and could bring them to the right view. It's a very challenging thing. For that, the people who take birth at the time of when the Buddhas take birth, they also are very intelligent. Buddha, because of their fulfilling their perfections, mental perfections, of not only purifying their mind, their ability to purify the others' minds. Because of that powerful mental perfection, Buddhas could very easily see the predisposition of others' minds and their wrong views about their own I-ness and minus, and authoritatively Buddha could fix. But now we have to take up this right view approach in this methodical way that we have designed, level 1 to level 4. And some techniques in some way or the other way will benefit each and every one. So I encourage all of you to attend these courses also. So now, if you have some questions, you can ask questions, then we'll conclude. Vandami Banteji, how to cultivate parmitas? Yeah, parmitas are nothing but the different ways and means to purify the mind. That's all. So by attending all these level 4 courses, you're developing the truthfulness, the metta, the feeling meditations, the equanimity, again with the feeling meditations and awareness meditations. You are cultivating the equanimity, parmita, metta parmita. And Satcha Parmita you cultivate with your again consciousness or awareness meditations. And then your Aditthana Parmi and your Kanti Parmi, all these things you develop with your are the different techniques that will build your confidence in Vipada techniques that we teach in our right view meditation courses. So by attending these courses, all your parmitas They will be fulfilled bit by bit, drop by drop, in a very authoritative way. In addition, of course, the other parmitas like Dana Parmi, Sheila Parmi, that you can take precepts and do. And again, if you don't have clarity and conviction and power and confidence, you can't stick on to Sheilas also correctly. And then even Dana Parmi, sometimes you may feel like giving, and again, these defilements of greediness, stinginess will overpower you, and you can't fulfill Dana Parmi by yourself. Again, when you develop, cultivate this Metta Parmi, Karuna Parmi, then automatically you feel like giving and giving up. And also developing intelligence and understanding, giving is the way to getting. So all these kind of holistic approach is there in this right view meditations from level 1 to level 4. And you can talk to your senior meditators and your other coordinators, and you get a few more inputs about this. And if you correctly learn this, then you can authoritatively work on your parmitas, and enthusiastically can fulfill the parmitas if you have this overall understanding about mind purification through this right view meditation. Sacha Parmi. Again, like a Sacha, you should be truthful in that way. If you keep on dreaming and worrying, you can't become a truthful person. Hypocrisy, covering so many things will try to overpower you. Again, through this right view approach of purifying the mind with all these 4 faculties of the mind, how correctly I can purify. If that is not there in your mind, that understanding is not there, and the techniques are not there, and if you don't have the right association, right guidance, and the right community, if you are not a part of that right community with right discipline, with the help of all these supporting factors, then you can't fulfill the promise. It will remain as a dream only. It will remain as an aspiration only. I have seen, both as a lay person, as a secluded person, as a teacher, as a motivator, I have seen the benefits of these courses and the benefits of the right community association in fulfilling the parmis. Dana Parmi, Sheila Parmi, Sacha Parmi, Kanti Parmi, Adithana Parmi, Parmita or Parmi, both are same. Metta Parmi, Upekka Parmi. All these Parmis, like say, they are related to how skillfully, how wisely you are working on your mind. That only matters. And automatically these Parmitas also will be fulfilled. Because of that reason, I encourage all of you to attend and register for these courses, and encourage others also. That will also become a punya. Encouraging others by appreciating others participating in these things. Your mind also will get more motivation in this mind purification approach, and definitely will put you into the right track. And it will become a superior punya, and that superior punya is for with an aspiration to completely liberate your mind. Whatever nice things, good things, meritorious things that you do, that is for me. So for that, authoritatively, I can tell you, I can assure you 100% confidently is this L1 to L4, the right view courses will help you to cultivate parmitas or parmis. So I was telling you in the Abhidhamma course also, what is the difference between Sakaya Ditti and conceit mana. And again, this Upasak, again he is asking this. Sakaya Ditti is like more, it's of body centeredness. Sat Kaya means like this is, Kaya is me, that kind of, Kaya means the body. So many things related to body, that only they will keep on they hold on to this. Most of the holding on is around this body and body centered. So that is like, and body centered means like I have this personality, I have this position. They come under this body centeredness. That is Satkaya Ditti. conceit mana is very, very subtle. It will transcend your all these worldly desires and worldly hatred, worldly enmities also. So mana is very, very subtle. Even very, very small attachment to some. So I have become one with Brahma. I have become one with some superior God. I have become one with the Supreme Soul. I want to become one. All these things, they come under this mana. Mana and I told you, no, avidya, they go together. They come under these last 5 fetters. Only an arahant can remove it, and even anagamis also will have that kind of little bit of mana. But sakaya ditti, all this personality, all this identity, all this rubbish that many people are stuck with, their intelligence, ego, all that I-ness that they are holding on to, all silly little menial things, they will go away. In the case of Sakaya Ditti, even in the case of Sotapannas and Sagagamis and Anagamis. But in Arhants, that very slight attachment to this kind of I-centeredness, soul-centeredness, with absolute purity in the mind also, a little bit of that view on there is this I has become one with the whole universe also, but still if that is there, a little bit of that I consciousness is there, understanding of I is there a little bit, then it is mana. Vandami Banteji, what is the difference between mind and brain? Why do we need the permanent brain? Brain is like, say in your modern terms, the brain is like your software, and the mind is like hardware. Hardware can't be software, right? Others. So this brain is just like whatever knowledge that you have accumulated by learning, by knowing, and then you try to simply analyze them, try to put them, try to synthesize them, try to put them into different compartments, try to separate them. That's what is the brain's function. Like it's like more like like a software. You can say that is the best example that I can tell you, the present young people. And this hardware is like it is like from time immemorial. A lot of views, lot of feelings, lot of accumulations that are very much there. That will so unknowingly, unconsciously, subconsciously, many things are there within you, within the system of this body and mind. So that is actually the mind. Guhasayo, that's what Buddha says. Deep inside the heart cavity, the mind is there. It's like Guhasaya means like deep inside, it is there. But the brain is like, it is like superficial, and it simply analyzes things, synthesizes, segregates, separates, penetrates. What kind of superficial function the brain does. So that way you can't relate the mind with the brain. So as I was telling you in this right view meditation courses, so the feelings are not part of your brain. They come from deep within, the deep emotions, the deep love, the deep compassion, they come from deep within. They're not part of your brain, which analyzes, which synthesizes, which segregates. That is not the job of your brain. In that way, you can't say the brain is mind, and in the mind there is conscious. The consciousness is also like part of the mind. That's one of the major part of the mind. That kind of consciousness and the flow of consciousness, it happens at this deep inside Guhasaya, in the heart cavity, not in the brain. So in that way, we can just say that brain is only one segment of the mind, which is very superficial, which has very limited functions, whereas the mind has so many dimensions. There are 152 dimensions. That's what Buddha talks about. There are so many dimensions actually, which many of us have not explored. Only the Samma Sambuddhas could explore into all dimensions of the mind. But the brain even the modern day scientists also, they can explore many dimensions of the mind. So in that way, brain is very limited functions. It has very limited functions, but the mind has so many dimensions, so many functions. It is like from time immemorial, it is changing, accumulating, developing, and it is going in this wave motions from time immemorial. But the brain is like, it is like more of this life cycle, this present life, which works on present life's inputs that you have taken, and those things only the brain will work. So in that way, brain is very, very inferior when compared to the magnanimity of the mind. Or if you go through again these courses, then you will start penetrating into the dimensions of the mind, start exploring the gems, the treasures of the mind. And in that way, you will realize how the mind is, how superior the mind is over the brain. Okay. Okay, good. So in that way, all the youngsters also, you should encourage them to attend these Dhamma talks and attend these courses. Then that is the best way of, making your children to be successful in this life. Not just feeding them and giving them whatever materialistic things they want, or giving them, sending them to some good Western education centers, thinking that you are providing them very, very good education. No, they should learn this art and science of working on their own mind. That is the best education that we can impart to them. That in that way, we encourage them to attend these Dhamma talks and also these courses. Then you are giving the best thing to your children. Okay, so with that, we'll conclude today's Dhamma. Namo tassa bhagavato arhato samma sambuddhassa bhavatu sabba mangalang rakkantu sabba devata sabba buddhanubhavena sabba dhammanubhavena sabba sanganubhavena sada sotti bhavantu te sukhi bhaveyang nidukko ahang nicha ahang viyam ida chame sukhi hontu majata chatavedino imam higammante dhamme satta hontu sukhi sada tato paranchara jesu chakkavale sujantano sadhu sadhu sadhu. And also from tomorrow we have our Pali classes, learning Pali through scriptures and also through grammar. And that is also the best gift that you can think of to give to your friends, relatives, children, and also for yourself. One should learn how to give best things to oneself. And some of you are requesting that you want to join, though the last date is over. Some of you are asking me yesterday. So you can join, you can talk to our coordinators who are in charge of this and you request them. And coordinators also, just with some middle path approach. Be a little compassionate to them, at the same time you discipline them. The people who are applying little late, so have that middle path approach and take them. And and among coordinators also, those who have committed to work for this Pali, first you should join this. We should register it. Then without you, then how can you work for this? All that kind of menial egos give up. Just flow into this. Just plunge into this flow to learn this. Have goodwill and compassion to your fellow coordinators and work in harmony with all of them. Be appreciative, be grateful to your coordinators also, just like you are grateful to and respectful to the teacher. You should be grateful and respectful to your coordinators and senior coordinators and those who are working very honestly, very dedicatedly. Just show your respect and your gratitude, and then automatically the coordinators also, they can work very skillfully, very efficiently. There is understanding and harmony, then that skillful and efficiency will automatically come. Then you can give the best things to the people. Okay, and also you can be grateful, you can show your gratitude also. to me and to my organization. Okay. So may all of you be happy, healthy, and peaceful. May all beings also be happy, healthy. Sukhi Hoon.